All right, conversion optimization. Let's go. This is a huge moment in the course because you have now officially completed the wax on, wax off fundamentals and basic stuff. And now you're ready to go out there and start doing your crane kicks and your roundhouse kicks and all the hitting and punching and the real violent stuff with actually having an immediate impact on your business's performance. So huge milestone. Congratulations. But if you're not solid on those fundamentals, you're going to run into problems fast. Some of this stuff doesn't work. So make sure you've got your jobs mapped done, you got your KPIs mapped out, and you validated this stuff with customers. All right. So conversion optimization. Few introductory thoughts. First of all, this is almost never a bad place to focus because it sits right in the middle of your funnel. So all the traffic you're getting, free or paid or whatever, is going through this. So any improvements you make to conversion, it lifts all the boats. All right. So mathematically, it's a good spot low down in the funnel. Great place to focus. Our approach is we're going to break the problem into 8 distinct parts, like the quality of your traffic, your page load times, readability of the page. So you can sort of break this into 8 small parts. And then we're going to very quickly test and evaluate if each of those bits is working or not. And if it's not, then we're going to talk about how to fix it. And that's our sort of systematic approach to conversion optimization. And overall, as you're doing this, the goal is to move quickly and be experiment driven, just like everything we do. So we're going to have these super fast, simple experiments that you can run without tons of traffic and A/B testing and statistical significance and blah, blah, blah. It's just super quick, but valid. Okay, so what are those 8 steps? The 8 levers of conversion, if you just sort of go through this logically, right? Readability, how's the page laid out? How is the text handled? If people look at this page, can they actually read it or not? Because if they can't read it, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter if it loads slowly or quickly. It doesn't matter how much you charge or what the headline says or which color the button is, right? Okay. So number 1 is literally, can they read the words? Number 2 is comprehension. If they read those words, does it actually mean in their brains what you think it means? Number 3, then assuming they can read it and assuming they understand it, we've got to make sure you're creating the right messages. So we're going to talk a little bit about copywriting and messages that really have impact. And then, of course, you're going to need to be able to test and validate these messages you're creating quickly. Are they having the impact that you want? Now, if you try to A/B test the whole page, you're moving a lot of variables. So how can we really focus on the words in the message and test that? And how can we do it, again, without a lot of traffic moving quickly? All right, once you've got your sort of core message, we'll talk about how you can use psychological triggers to make it more powerful. And this is kind of where you get into some of the gray hat growth hacking stuff. And so there'll be some disclaimers around how you use these things, but I'll explain how they work, and hopefully they'll make you a smarter marketer and a smarter consumer. Then, of course, the price of the product. Most people's first instinct is if no one's buying it, lower the price. But look at the rest of this list, right? No one's buying it. It might be that they can't read the page. It might be that they don't understand the words. It might be that you're not highlighting the right messages. So price is pretty far down this list, and it should be one of the last resorts. But we'll talk about how to think about pricing, how to evaluate if it's the problem, and how to kind of optimize your pricing and how you present it. Okay, then sort of going into the next section, we're going to look at how to figure out, it could just be you have a great page and you're getting low quality traffic. Those people just wouldn't ever want to buy your stuff. So how do we figure that out? And if that's the problem, the whole next section is going to be about finding high quality traffic. So this will just be to evaluate it. And finally, page load times. I put that last. If the page loads slowly, obviously that can hurt your conversion. I put it last because it's almost always something that you can improve, and it's almost never your main conversion killer. But it's a fairly straightforward thing, so we'd be remiss if we didn't handle it, but it's usually not the problem. All right, so that's our approach. Now, just want to make sure you've got your prerequisites. So before we continue, make sure that you have completed the metrics and messages sections of this course. And specifically, you've done your homework. You've got your jobs to be done, interviews done, and you have a good document that consolidates and summarizes the jobs, social, emotional, and functional, and that you know where people are in the sort of see, think, do, pain timeline. And then, of course, if you're going to try to do conversion experiments, you need to be tracking your conversion. So make sure you've identified a good conversion KPI and that you're able to track that. Now, specifically when we're going in these 8 factors, you can do some of these without even having done the jobs to be done interview. So even if you haven't done sections 1 and 2 as well as you should have, go ahead and start doing readability, comprehension, and load times now, because they're simple, easy things to test and fix, and don't totally depend on having, your foundation of jobs to be done. But if you're going to start trying to improve your message or think about pricing or apply psychological triggers, you really need to be in your customers' heads for that to work. So make sure you got a strong foundation there. And the last thing I'll say is, even though I've numbered these 1 through 8, you can do them in parallel. You can be testing and optimizing a message at the same time as you redesign for readability. So you'll see these experiments are not necessarily serial. So don't be afraid to move ahead with multiple ones in parallel. All right, I'll see you in the next module.